The coach was like, hey, why does Barca not have this video done? This is why it's good to have friends in the department. The coach had a hot mic on, and this was being recorded. And I felt like this was probably like Watergate and Nixon or something. A friend who had access to the video tipped me off and was just like, hey, you may want to listen to this.
This week on the podcast, we touch on the overall theme of coaches' power on a college campus and on the absolute shit show in Chapel Hill with our friend Bill Belichick and the experiment we knew that was never going to work. I would hate to be in that building right now. I bet there's a lot of Carolina employees lining the bars on Franklin Street every night. I can't imagine the stories that are going around hot wings and cheese fries in some of those places. We'll relive some stories of being in the middle of the toxicity of a coach's power and also ruminate on the possibility that with the age of NIL may come more player empowerment and a shift away from the all-powerful, omniscient images of coaches. I don't know if you were in a meeting on Friday with the coaches and the head coach is like, hey, listen, at the end of the game, I'm not talking. I'm not doing it. You can talk to my players. All my players will be available. But this is not about me. It's about our players and our fans. I'm just wondering when that day's going to happen. Some of these egos on these coaches, it's too big for them to even think about that. But the ones moving forward, I think are going to be focusing on how we can empower our kids to build their brands. This is the true story of two washed-up sports guys who chased the dream, private flights, championship rings, running sideline to sideline on per diem and adrenaline.
We gave our 20s and our 30s to the industry, pulled off miracles that were never in the job description. In return, low pay, long hours, and we still got cut from the team.
This is about what really happens behind the badge. The burnout, the bad bosses, the dream job that didn't love you back, but also the lifelong friendships, the chaos, the holy shit stories you couldn't make up. And somehow, despite everything, you'd still do parts of it all over again.
This is one for the ones who lived it, loved it, hated it, and still kind of miss it. For everyone who's ever asked, how in the hell did we survive that? We're two former sports insiders with more than 40 years of experience and more than enough scars to make fun of it all.
And just enough trauma to start a podcast instead of going to therapy.
I'm Brandon Barca.
And I'm Andy Boggs.
And this is No Longer Credentialed. We once had access, now we have opinions. Welcome back to another episode of No Longer Credentialed. I think we are on episode 24, Boggsy.
Time flies when you're having fun, dude.
It is. And we've got a compelling topic today. We're really going to dig into a conversation on coaches and the powers they have over their programs. College football coaches hold a unique kind of power, not just over their teams, but over entire institutions. In many places, they're the most visible and the highest paid figure on campus. And right now, that power is being tested in places like Chapel Hill. 5 games into Bill Belichick's tenure at North Carolina, the Tar Heels have suffered blowout losses to TCU, UCF, and Clemson by a combined score of 120-33. Reports of turmoil continue to swirl behind the scenes, with a $20 million buyout hanging over the program. Is it a few voices inside the building trying to undermine the new staff, or a sign that things are already out of control? Here are some of the headlines, even some that have come in just this week. It gets crazier and crazier. We'll let you decide what's true and what's not. First, Board of Trustees members reportedly made an unauthorized offer to Belichick behind the athletic director's back to get him to UNC in the first place. An off-season of tabloid speculation about Belichick's 24-year-old girlfriend. Cornerbacks coach Armand Hawkins suspended for recruiting violations. GM Michael Lombardi's letter to donors calling the season part of a, and I quote, rebuild. A Hulu docuseries meant to chronicle Belichick's return to college football, canceled mid-season. And you got to love this one out there, social media fam. UNC's social media staff allegedly told to avoid any mention of the New England Patriots, including the school's prized young pro star, Drake May. A personal grudge by Belichick, perhaps one carried over from his past, now clashing with the best interests of the school he works at. In regards to his staff, he's kept it in the family, and is paying $12.5 million this year for his football coaching staff, which includes Lombardi, one of his cronies from the Patriots, as his GM, Lombardi's son, and two of Belichick's sons, including defensive coordinator Steve, who's making $1.3 million this year. Wow. So, for a prestigious university like UNC that guards its image more carefully than its win-loss record, how much turbulence is too much? Is this simply a rough start or evidence of something deeper inside the program? Boggs, we can look back to one of our first episodes, and you warned us that this wouldn't end well. So for today's main segment, we ask, do college football coaches wield too much power over the athletic department staff, over the brand, even over the truth itself? Boggs, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just been that way forever. I think it's the coach has kind of been the easy person to concentrate on. You have all this turnover with players. I mean, they're only there 4 years. They come in, they come out. Now they're leaving even faster. You know, we've had Andy Mack on. He's talking about university personnel who can see the stadium from their office but have never been to a game. You know, the coach is an easy person for them to think about when it comes to the football program and not the players and the staff and, you know, other coaches. And so it's been that way for a long time. This may be the precipice of maybe things starting to flip a little bit with NIL. Maybe it goes back to the players, and maybe you just don't trust your coach as much to do what's right for your program, because obviously he is not doing what's right for the program. And we saw this coming. I mean, there's just ineptitude at every level. Trustees, president, coaches. It's just, you know,
College
it's
sports.
not a good situation there. It's college sports, and they let it get out of control, and they kind of handed the keys to Belichick, and he's running the dang car off the road through the guardrails. He has no guardrails, and now you're looking at, you know, whatever it's going to cost to get out of this. There's so many layers to this, though. I'm using ineptitude again, but it's just from everybody. No one's informed, and no one is smart about any of this, and it's going to cost them a lot of money. A lot of money, man. I mean, probably it could cost them $35-40 million just to get out of this situation. It's nutso.
The social media part of it, man, that hits way too close to home, because I've been in those situations where coaches put their foot down, and it's the end all be all in what they say, and you can express it to your supervisor or boss, but it usually doesn't go anywhere.
I kind of like what's happening over there now, where with this Drake May thing, they're like, wait a second. Somebody in the athletic department said, wait a second, we are not doing that. Like, this guy he's a future star in the NFL, and they're smart about that because, and he's got this family lineage of people who've played at Carolina. I mean, he's had brothers play basketball. Now he played quarterback. I mean, he's going to make, if he keeps going on this trajectory, he's going to be making $50-60 million a year. I mean, if I'm Carolina, I want some of that. From all things I've read, he had a great experience there. And so the last thing you want to do is throw shade at this dude because your coach is pissed off at the Patriots because of some documentary they did. I mean, come on, man. Like, this, it's just, it's almost like you can't even write a book this bad if you're Carolina football. Like, if you kind of lined up all the bad things that could have happened at the beginning of Belichick's tenure, all of it's happening. All of it's happening. I mean, recently they broke the rules on letting parents sell their tickets or kids sell their tickets. I mean, that's a violation. And I don't know if they even know. I would hate to be in that building right now. I bet there's a lot of Carolina employees lining the bars on Franklin Street every night. I can't imagine the stories that are going around hot wings and cheese fries in some of those places.
Well, you know,
and
we talked about this months ago. If he comes in and he wins immediately, and Carolina's program has had success in the past, that winning would have covered all of this up, right? All of
100%.
All of these issues or people coming out and leaking things within the department, and you're seeing the wheels come off because maybe it's the ineptitude of the department, but also people that are unhappy, whether it's donors or current staff or just anyone affected by this.
Just watching them and how this thing all unfolded. I mean, the more you peel back the onion, you had a rogue trustee decide to hire this guy. In February of this year, the chancellor sends around a memo to the trustees. Don't do that anymore. You could cost us a lot of money. And he was right, because it's going to cost them a lot of money. I mean, we've been in these situations. Can you imagine, like, someone on the board of trust being like, hey, maybe they have influence on a coach, but I don't think they made the full, we're going to do it no matter what. Like, we're doing it even if the chancellor doesn't want to do it, even if the AD doesn't want to do it. Like, there's so much animosity there, and now it's going to cost you $40 million. What are the consequences for this trustee? Is he going to pay? I don't know.
What a shit show.
Crazy, man.
And
yeah,
we've been in those situations before when you're just, a staff member that's not making a lot of money and you're just waiting for the nightmare to end. And sometimes that nightmare goes on for 3 or 4 seasons.
Forever.
This one probably won't.
Well, hopefully. I mean, again, though, it's going to cost a lot of money to get out of this. And his staff is going to be paid $12.5 million this year. And it looks like from some of the contracts I've seen, they're only 2-year deals, but they all get raises. Steve Belichick's salary goes up $100,000 next year. So maybe it's not 12.5 next year. Maybe it's 13.5. I don't know how they get out of it. I don't know if you have a lawyer come in and tell Belichick, like, hey, man, we'll pay you 13 to walk away. We'll pay your staff, whatever. Maybe he just wants out, or maybe he just wants the money. I don't know. Probably wants the money. Once those guys start making the money, that's what they want. It's incredible, though. I feel so bad for people in that department who are so knowledgeable of everything, and their expertise just kind of gets washed down the drain.
You're paralyzed.
Really, really bad situation. Really bad.
You're paralyzed. You can't really do the job that you've been paid to do. Really, you're just hoping either the AD or the university steps in if they're paying attention. They can't not pay attention on how much this has just been national news now for months.
Right. I got to think they're getting tired of everything. I think people inside that building are getting tired of everything. If the AD didn't make the hire, this would be crazy. What if the AD is sabotaging everything? What if every chance he gets to leak something about how bad this is going, that he's getting it out there just to poop on the trustee, and maybe the chancellor's in his corner too? I don't know. I just have never really been a part of a process, been in a part of anything where you were so against what was happening on the other side of the building. And you would do anything to get him out. Again, I think that's what's happening there now. I really do.
Only in college sports, there's dysfunction in pro sport teams, organizations, from owners and presidents and GMs, but there are just several more layers of dysfunction that happen day in and day out in college sports when you start throwing in boosters and the university side and president and an athletic department and an AD and the coach's own staff. It's not surprising.
Yeah, you have all these competing interests, and you also have all these competing levels of smartness. Of people knowing what's going on. You have the AD probably gets a nice pulse on what's happening inside the department. The chancellor may have a little less. Some of these trustees may have no idea. And now the coaching staff doesn't have any idea, as we're seeing. And it's just this levels of competence. It's varies so much. We saw that too. We never saw it like this before.
UNC was involved in a scandal. Maybe it was dummy classes or something happened in the last 10, 15 years. And I remember talking and reading articles about just knowing UNC grads and trying to get their take on the situation. And the one common thing I got from them was just upholding the integrity of the university.
Yeah.
They wanted to win. Carolina basketball especially. But it was it was on a higher level when talking to grads. And you're seeing the case here because I feel like the university and potentially the AD aren't letting this slide.
Yeah, Carolina's a lot different than, I hate to say it, NC State up the street or Clemson or, academics and kind of doing things the right way is kind of in their lifeblood a little bit. And when you have something like this happen, it really knocks you back a few steps. You have to start asking that question, is it just really worth it for us to do this? And It's a big deal. It's a really, really, really big deal, and people take that kind of stuff really seriously, and that's why I think this is going to come to an end pretty quickly. And I just want to know who's going to be the fall guy, girl, people with all this. Someone's going to lose their job. The chancellor probably will. The AD probably. I mean, there may be a complete cleaning house of everybody over there.
Yeah, is it the AD retiring? Cunningham?
He is retiring. I think so, yeah. And they're bringing in they've already named a successor, I think.
Yeah.
He's outside of sports. He's not inside of sports. He's like some sort of exec.
And they've hired some new comms people on the university side, another senior exec. So, you throwing that into the factor too, right? You've got an AD on its way out and all these other new staff coming in. It's just,
it's a mess,
I don't know.
Man. It's a mess. Like, those people probably cannot wait for basketball season to start. Like, when is November going to get here so we can just... Belichick maybe wanting basketball season to start. So take all the pressure off of him. I mean, did you see the pictures of that stadium in the second quarter?
I did not.
It was empty. Dude, empty. It looked like a scrimmage. So on the flip side, they made money on this deal. Like, they sold all their season tickets. So you do have that part. But they're going to need it to buy out Belichick. Dude.
Now they have the angry mob.
They have the angry mob. And what they're going to have more than the angry mob is like the mob that just doesn't care anymore. I think that's worse. But then again, if this guy keeps doing what he's doing, they had a week off and he was in Nantucket with his girlfriend. It's like, come on, dude. Do you not have any PR people working for you? That is just something you just don't do.
You know how it is.
The hubris and ego of these people, we can't even fathom it.
You know how it is, man. They close out everybody else's opinion, and no one's going to tell them on the inside is going to tell them no or do this differently.
Yeah, and that's one thing I kind of wrote down preparing for this is like you could have all the staff in the world that knows what they're doing and knows the lay of the land. But if this person is not listening to those people, which Belichick is not, then this is what you're going to get. You just hired the wrong guy.
I've zoned it all out, honestly, other than just once this social media story came up this past week, it hit home all too well.
Did it trigger you? Was that a trigger?
It did. And we're going to get into this overall thing because I think our larger convo today is not specifically about UNC. This is just setting the table, but really, the cult of the college coach. And this, this is something that drives me batshit crazy. And I get it. It's sports, fandom. But it's insane to me how much reverence is placed on college football coaches. They become larger than the programs themselves, the faces of these multi-million-dollar brands, worshipped by fans, amplified by the media. They're just as bad.
Oh, man.
And even turned into like these cartoon-type television character personalities. And you don't see that as much in professional sports. Hell, I can't name half the coaches in the NBA. And, there it's more player-driven. Storylines are player-driven. And it's player empowerment. But in college, the coach is the story and has always been the story since as long as I can remember. And it's a dynamic that borders on unhealthy, I think. One that universities, networks, and fans have all helped create this monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So why are we here? Why have we elevated these coaches to this just extreme level of power?
People are lazy. I think the media is kind of lazy, and it's easy for them to put a microphone in front of the coach once the game's over. Like sideline reporter sprints onto the field to go talk to the coach. And you don't see that in the NFL. You don't really see it in the NBA. The coach leaves the floor in the NBA, and they talk to the two top players from the game. And I'm just wondering when that's going to stop. I mean, it's just, to me, we live in a town with a program. We worked at a place where I think they're starting to get it right when it comes to who's the face of their program. It's not the coach. If you surveyed people around America about that program, they're going to talk about the quarterback. They're going to talk about the quarterback, how he's digging them out of this historic hole. Now, if you watch the games, they're very well coached. Their offensive coordinator is probably the best offensive coordinator in college football. But the coach is kind of low key. And maybe that's the future. Maybe he's out on the road saying, hey, listen, I don't really want to do these interviews at the end of games. I want you guys to do the interviews. I want you to build your brand on TV. I want you to make all the money at NIL stuff. I think that's the future. And I don't know how that starts. I don't know if you're in a meeting on Friday with the coaches and the head coach is like, hey, listen, at the end of the game, I'm not talking. I'm not doing it. You can talk to my players. All my players will be available. But this is not about me. It's about our players and our fans. I'm just wondering when that day's going to happen. Some of these egos on these coaches, it's too big for them to even think about that. But the ones moving forward, I think are going to be focusing on how we can empower our kids to build their brands.
I mean, I think of just how TV plays the role too. It's like Saban versus Kiffin. It's Alabama versus Ole Miss, and all of these things that are happening. And you're touching on something here because could we see the power shifting from coaches being the face of their teams? And with all of this NIL stuff going on, and is this the beginning of player empowerment? There's even more pressure on players based on their contracts, and there's probably even more visibility on them just with their personal brands. I mean, is this just really the first baby steps to maybe coaches seceding unwillingly a little bit of that power to where we're going to see player empowerment? We've seen it in the NBA since LeBron made the decision.
You know, you also have GMs putting together rosters now. I mean, coaches are recruiting, they're obviously in charge of everything, but as far as the day-to-day, I haven't been around a program since these GMs came on board, but the day-to-day stuff that's happening in these departments, it's all done by the GM. It's all done by, like, the transfer portal is being done by the GM and maybe an assistant GM or whatever. So those days of the coach kind of determining, hey, who are we going to go recruit? Now it's the GM making those decisions. It's got to stop. It's just got to stop. I mean, granted, I'm the first one to call for a coach's head if I'm talking about Bill Belichick getting fired. At the end of the day, I couldn't name you one player on North Carolina's team. Could you?
Man, I'm failing this
I think Max
test today.
Johnson may be there.
No.
I'm not even real sure.
I've seen him on TV a couple times.
Can't.
No clue.
No clue, right? And so that's what I mean. It's easy for the TV networks and the media to focus on the coach because you can't keep track of the players. Can't keep track of them.
I'm going to throw this one at you.
Yeah.
Who do you think really runs an athletic department at a Power 4 school? The athletic director?
No.
Or the football head coach?
It's the football head coach. It's the basketball head coach. It's the football head coach. In some places, it's the baseball coach or the women's basketball coach. I mean, I would think Dawn Staley at South Carolina has a lot of juice. A lot of juice. We've been there and done that. They'll determine what your social media policy looks like. They determine when you're going to have practice and when you're going to have media availabilities. Sometimes they determine your marketing schedule. They send someone to a meeting to decide to tell you how they want to do marketing. I mean, we've seen all this. What uniforms you wear for every game, they determine that. There's not some marketing crew doing that.
Do you think schools should set limits, ADs, on how much control a coach has over the brand and messaging and even the athletic department staff?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like I've mentioned before on podcasts, I think they need to know, their coaches need to be aligned with what they want to accomplish and how they want to accomplish it. And then you can kind of give them the keys to the car once you kind of know that they're on the same team as you. But a lot of these ADs, they don't know that. They just don't. All right, dude, here's the keys. Go take it. Go take it where you want to take it. If you drive it into the Atlantic Ocean, I mean, it's got to change, man. Like, I think it's a big reason why we have all of these budget issues, because these ADs just, like, don't really pay attention to what's happening with these coaches and how they spend their money and what they're doing to the department. And get their power back, man.
What do you think it looks like? I mean, how do we differentiate when a coach has too much control? Because coaches by nature are going to be in control, but when does it go too far? I mean, I know I've personally experienced this, and it's a horrible feeling, and you feel like there's no solution inside because the coach is always going to win the day over, a measly athletic department staffer. But have you personally ever seen athletic staff feel like they're walking on eggshells around a coach, or they're in survival mode?
I think what I've been around is just hold your nose mode. You just hold your nose and you just do what they want you to do, because no one in your administration is going to say to them, hey, what you're doing is not right. So you just hold your nose. And I've been in a lot of hold your nose situations, and I'm sure you have too, about just some of the things that they ask to get done. You do it, but you're like, man, I don't want to do this. This is not the right thing to do. But you do it because you want your job. And no one's backing you up. I mean, heck, we've had some situations, or I've had situations where I don't think the administration even knew what I was doing or what my name was on some occasions. You just hold your nose and do what they want you to do, although it's terrible for your program. Terrible.
I can share some stories with you right now.
Yeah.
What happens? Let's just talk about this. What happens when you push back on a coach? Well, I've got the answer to this. I've experienced it.
Yeah, well, let's hear it.
I've heard other stories as well, too. I mean, I've heard coaches barring their own staff from practice, barring their own PR person
That's
from
happened
practice.
to me.
I mean,
That's
it's just
to me.
That blows my mind. I mean, you are the communicator of the team. You're all working for the same name on the chest.
Yep.
And it's allowed to happen.
Yep, it happened to me. It was plain as day, and it's one of those things you're like, well, F you then.
Yeah.
See ya.
It doesn't make you want to do anything more.
I won't come back to practice. You don't want me there at practice? Then I won't even come. I'll see you at games. We won't have anybody come to watch your practice or pay attention to you.
You know how many times I've heard that story? And this is not just you. And I didn't even realize that it happened to you. But this is a common thing in sports. It's like, if you're not on the ship, then you're, walking the plank.
Yeah.
And then if you go talk to whoever your senior administrator is, you think they're going to solve it or fix it?
No juice.
And so then you get iced out even more, and essentially your days are numbered with that specific program.
Yeah. It's shocking. You do this forever. You know what you're doing. If anything, they should be embracing what you're telling them about how to play in this league or what's been successful, but I never got any of that.
But you hit on
certain
something
staffs.
Here. You hit on something here, because when stuff like that happens, that may be one of the few times that I worked in sports where I'm like, what am I doing here?
Yes.
Why am I working all these hours? Why am I killing myself for this coach who's preaching team, and then acting in this completely opposite way, this selfish, powerful way? You see the true colors, which is ego, and you see coaches really in it for themselves, and all the other, I'm not saying this is every coach. I'm just saying specific coaches that I've had these experiences with, where you're like, it's all about them. And when it comes down to it, and there's a narcissism to it, and it really just pushes you back as someone who's trying to bring the most value to the team, where you're like, you know what? I'm not going to kill myself to do this. Why am I doing it? I can think specifically. Here's a throwback.
Yeah.
I remember, I used to do these all access, they're sort of groundbreaking things. And for a football coach back in the day, and this was on top of my social media job. And even though all access stuff wasn't something that was in my description, I may have mentioned this before, I did it because, our video department at the time was understaffed, but I saw the value of what it could do for football recruiting and promoting the program against a lot of these big dogs in the conference. I remember walking outside of the cafeteria, I think it was a day before Thanksgiving, and running into coach, and it wasn't a greeting of like, hey, how you doing? And just small talk on just catching up. It was like, hey, where are we at on this video? And I told coach, I was like, this is where I'm at. I'm behind on all these other projects. It's going to take longer for it to come out than it normally does. And the next day was Thanksgiving. And I was just like, he's like, well, are you working on it tomorrow? Something to that effect. And I was just like,
Of course.
I was so perturbed by it. You could see steam coming out of my ears when I went back up to the office, and I was just like, "F this, man. This is ridiculous." On top of that, there was a big banquet celebration for when the team gets announced to go into a bowl game. It's usually right after that following week. And again, backlogged and I actually, no joke, I rarely ever got sick and I couldn't make the actual event. One of the few events I didn't make, I was probably throwing up. I may have had the flu. I can't remember. And so I had to work with our video staff. I was like, hey, can you guys web stream this event? And so they had coach mic'd up and I'm at a home feeling sick as a dog. And the coach is mic'd up and approaches my boss. And I had a good standing in the department. I had been there, 10 years at that point. I tried to
pin.
Yeah. I had a pin. Had the 10-year pin.
You had a pin.
But I wasn't a bad apple. I was someone that worked hard and just went overboard on a lot of stuff and ran myself in the ground because of it. But the coach was like, hey, why is Barca not have this video done? This is why it's good to have friends in the department. The coach had a hot mic on and this was being recorded. And I felt like this was probably like Watergate and Nixon or something. A friend who had access to the video tipped me off and was just like, hey, you may want to listen to this. I probably shouldn't have listened to this private conversation, but it was with my boss. And what I found out was not only is the coach a maniac, but all the boss did in the situation was listen to the coach without sticking up for everything I had been doing for the program and how crazy my schedule would have been and how I was actually sick that day. And all of these other things. And so I remember that was at the end of this coach's run and we went into bowl season and they were maniacal about, I'd worked with these coaches for 3 years. I understood the process of what they, when I'm doing all access stuff, what to show, what not to show at practices. We're at bowl practice. I remember the very first bowl practice and I'm filming stuff and hey, look, I know the drill on these things. Don't show formations. Don't show any player numbers that are questionable or that the opponent doesn't know might not be playing, or keep everything close and tight. Just show people walking around, taking a couple practice snaps, a couple smiles, this, that, and that. And I'd gone through this process before, and they were like, I remember the ops person was just like, every single piece of footage has to go through me before it gets posted. And what would happen is these ops people would have so much on their plate during bowl week. And a lot of times these ops people wouldn't get to it until the end of the day or end of the night, like 10, 11, midnight. I'm not kidding. And I got to that point. I remember sitting down. We were talking about pushing back. When do you push back and have you ever pushed back? And this is where I pushed back and shit hit the fan because I told him, I was just like, hey, look, I'm not going to film these things. I'm not going to film a practice or a walkthrough anymore or do this content that's helping you in recruiting if every single piece has to be reviewed. And again, this wasn't an all access piece. Nobody was mic'd up. There was nothing coach was saying or any of this stuff. And I was like, this is ridiculous. It's not efficient. It's pushing my content back to the next morning when I'm already planning new content to film. It's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not posting this video. It's not being reviewed. Deputy AD or whatever for football that was on the staff reported directly to coach, then set a meeting with me like the next day and had to sit down. And you know what they told me? God, this still infuriates me. This deputy AD for football told me, hey, you get as much out of this for you personally, being able to put these videos out as the team, right? essentially telling me that I should be thanking the football team's lucky stars that I get to cover the program.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say? This is my ego, or this is that I'm selfish and that I want this to be about me? I'm like, this has nothing to do with any of that. And now you're throwing out that I should be thanking my lucky stars. But those are the types of things that drive you into the ground. Does that sound familiar?
But that's the general attitude, though, right? That's the general attitude around the department. It's like, you should just be lucky you get the gear. You should be lucky that you get to work with this coach. And you feel that way, too. I mean, I did. Like, man, this is great. I'm wearing team-issued gear. I'm on the plane. I'm around the team, I do work 20 hours a day, but, I still get to do all this stuff. And that's just kind of the general attitude around the whole building, I think. And it's not healthy at all.
This combo just brings back a lot of memories. Again, we're working on this all access series. And here's where the AD dynamic comes in and the power of the head coach and who controls what. And this one was really fascinating to me when you read between the lines. So stay with me here. But so we're producing this groundbreaking all access series on the football program, cameras everywhere. And it was starting to get national attention. It was starting to put coach on this pedestal, just branding coach as potentially this bigger figure than the program, potentially opening this person up for bigger jobs, which it actually did. Now, granted, it wasn't all because of the all access series, but all of these things play a role in promoting the coach. And the word trickled down through my boss from the athletic director. And this may have been a staff meeting that we were all in. Hey, let's dial it back a little bit on how we promote our coaches. Let's promote the school more and not the coach, because coaches come and go. And you know what? It seems like a fair point. I mean, I think that is a great point. But then when you read between the lines, you're like, okay, maybe it was a little more political than that. The more popular the coach became, the harder it was for the AD to negotiate that next contract, which the AD was in the middle of negotiating. So both parties really had their own interest to protect over the school. And that's the paradox of college sports. We're told to sell tickets and tell big stories and create buzz, but just not too much buzz.
But don't do it too much, because then we have to pay this coach double what he's making right now. We don't want to do that.
I was like, I'm in bizarro land,
It's interesting. It's interesting. And then you're stuck in the middle. Like, your staffers who are doing all the work are like, I'm just trying to do a job here. I don't know I'm not thinking about over-publicizing my coach, or I'm just trying to put the best product I can put out there. And then it makes you wonder, like, why the hell did I even do any of this stuff at all? Like, what's the big deal?
Because the coaches are coming to you and they're saying, well, why aren't you doing X, Y, and Z? And then your own boss in the department's telling you, don't do X, Y, and Z.
I know.
And nobody will speak up. And it's an awful position to be in. And heck, I think you have a little story as well you want to share, maybe a little bit about promoting coaches when they are winning, that have gone through losing seasons.
Yeah, I've had coaches that's all they wanted to do is publicize themselves, and it's just all over the social media feed. I mean, you have big moments happening that kids make big plays to win games, and then after the game, it's a picture of the coach. You're just like,
not just a picture of a coach. Hey, look, this is the first time I've ever seen something like this, and it's a good thing I wasn't on staff at the time, because I would have called it out.
Right.
On a final, I've never seen this ever before. I'm not trying to be over the top on this. A head coach's picture on the final score graphic of a big win for the program.
Like, one of the bigger wins that's ever happened for the program. And granted, he was in charge of the win, so good for him. I mean, but you also had a fourth-year senior make the shot. And no love for that kid. Crazy. It was all about the coach, because everybody who was telling us in these meetings, they all thought that the reason why people came to the games was for the coach. People came to the games and paid money to see the coach, and it's just not that way. I mean, like you said, coaches come and go. But if you're a lower level staffer like I was, I mean, you just kind of roll with the punches, man. That's just what they want. I mean, I'm not going to raise a stink about it. It's just not healthy for the whole department, because you got nobody in administrations looking at this at all. Like, I don't know if they were looking at it, if they even raised a red flag. Maybe they were so inside the bubble that they didn't even notice it.
Obvious when you have a post game, and
so obvious.
There are 6 different posts out of 10 posts. Again, not exaggerating, and they're all about coach. And granted, when you have a big win, there are those spots for content after the game that you want to do. Like, let's get a soundbite from the locker room. We should definitely do that. Let's get a picture if the team douse coach in water or Gatorade in the locker room. Like,
incredible photo. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Final score graphic, and then everything else just basically being about coach, because coaches had 2 losing seasons prior, and they have to over pump up coach being the face of the program. And that's just, I don't know, maybe that's just social staff being in the wrong position, in between a lot of things of what they're hearing. But on the other end, it's something that personally I had probably too much ego to ever let happen.
I always thought as an SID or media relations person, I've talked about this. You're a steward for the whole entire program from when it started to where it is now. And for you to kind of cave in to that stuff, it's just not good for the whole department. But you're on an island. You do what you got to do.
Sponsored by.
Today's episode is brought to you by Life Suckage. Recovering from a long football weekend and need some well-earned R&R? You've come to the wrong place. Suit up in the same travel sweats you've been wearing for 72 hours and drag yourself to the weekly coaches show on Monday night. Coach just beat an FCS team, so congratulations. You've been enlisted to boost the crowd size. Because nothing says life satisfaction like superfans cornering Coach with, "Hey, why'd you punt on 4th and 1 from your own 30? Don't worry, it's not like you have to work 12 of the next 13 weekends. Order me another round of free mozzarella sticks. That's Life Suckage. Somehow you found something even less fun than doing laundry."
I miss those coaches shows, man.
Man,
Getting
I
that
love
email. Hey, we need a couple extra bodies
Oh
at the
my gosh.
coaches show this week. Really need to pump it up a little bit, show that the department's behind Coach after that big win this year, even though we're like 2-7.
Yeah. Get some free food out of it sometimes.
No Longer Credentialed is also brought to you by The Sun Didn't Come Up. That's right. It's gone. It quit. It's never coming back. So now you're sleeping on an inflatable mattress in your office, which, fun fact, doubles as a prison cell, where the only thing on the menu is ice cube sandwiches. You ever had one of those, Boggs?
I have not.
Oh, they're crunchy and delicious.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Don't go to jail.
Yeah.
You don't know what day it is. You don't know what year it is, but Coach still needs that report on their desk by 8 a.m. sharp. That's The Sun Didn't Come Up. You made the deadline and are rewarded with a new back pain for the trainer to deal with on a player regen day. That back pain is coming from the inflatable mattress.
Jeez.
Do you ever sleep in the office?
Never.
Oh, man.
Never slept in the office. Always went home.
There was a couch back in the video staff department
I
room.
remember that.
Sometimes I would crash there in the middle of the night.
Yes.
If you have a 7 p.m. football kickoff and it's done at 10:30 and by the presser is done, you go back to the office, it's midnight and you're just working on things and it becomes 3 or 4 a.m. and
Yep.
easy to crash there and
Crash on the couch.
you wake up and you don't know what day it is anymore. Man, I miss those days.
I
Man.
know, right? Great days.
You get it. Hey, I've got another cult of coaches question for you.
Mm-hmm.
You've got 20 plus years of comms experience. You're pro. You're an expert in the business. I want to get your take on this one because this is something that comms folks face a lot, and it always fascinated me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to ask a couple questions here. How often does protecting a coach's image, again, we're talking power, take priority over the truth when you're in comms? And I know this stuff that you've probably faced this before. Do comm staff ever feel ethically trapped, stuck between doing their job and doing what's right? I think back, Bobby Petrino's motorcycle incident years ago. I don't know how much you remember this.
I do, yeah.
But the athletic department rushed out with a statement defending him in the accident and trusting Petrino's initial story before knowing what actually took place. And it's a weird position to be in because honestly, as a comms person, I'm like, hey, I only want to put things out that I know are truth. What's a statement from us as an athletic department versus if coach wants to put out their own statement on what they want to say happened in this accident. It happens a lot where departments really have to take and use the word of their coach without knowing the actual truth.
Yeah. I haven't really been involved in a ton of those experiences, but like I mentioned with the social media thing, that kind of hurts you a little bit because it's not the right thing to do. but you still have to do it. That's not a Bobby Petrino situation in any sense of the matter. But, I've mentioned a story before where I had a coach tell a player he was going to kill him, effing kill him after a game. But luckily for me, my coach was kind of a stand-up guy, and he knew that what he did was wrong. I wasn't having to lie or tell stories granted, it was on national TV.
It was all over Sports Center that night.
It was all over Sports
No
Center.
way to avoid it.
No denying it, what happened. But, he stood up for, he admitted what he did was not the right thing to do and apologized. And I was lucky in that sense. We weren't fighting that. That was not a fight. That was just a mea culpa to America and to the SEC and sports fans. Like, hey, we messed up. And I'm sorry. It'll never happen again. But as far as like trying to defend Bobby Petrino, or think about Rick Pitino. Think about what happened to him at Louisville. The comms pros at Louisville are pros. Pros. The guy he is a legend, and you're having to defend this guy's behavior. And it's just, sometimes it's dirty, man. Sometimes you have to kind of, again, hold your nose and do it. As much as you don't want to do it, man, that's a tough situation. I think it takes a toll on you. So, I didn't really answer your question all that much, but
it's just the issue of having to almost blindly trust what your coach is saying because they're in a power position.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you do.
And
you want to keep making your salary. And you got the problem is this. There's no, at least in my tenure, in my experience, I never had an administrator say, let me talk to him about this. Let me address this. I'll handle this for you. Never had that. So you're stuck. I don't even know what their opinion is about everything. You're just stuck and doing what you have to do. Like these people at Carolina not posting stuff about Drake May. Like, are you serious? Like this guy just beat Buffalo and you can't post anything on your social media because your coach has a hard-on for the Patriots? Like, come on. But you do it, But luckily for them, they had an administrator say, enough of that garbage. Like, this guy's important to our university. We're going to keep publicizing the great things he's doing. And Belichick, you're just going to have to suck it up.
It's always fascinating to me that coaches, even still today, not all of them, but they get away with these full-blown profanity-laced tantrums. I look at them as like little kids during the game sometimes, stomping and yelling and cursing about an official call and all this. And I understand it's their livelihood to sway a game and every call counts, but it's still somehow for the most part tolerated. And I always thought, and again, this is a dumb way to look at it, but if anyone else in the department if we were to act in that same manner during the same game, we'd probably be out the door by the end of the day. Drives me crazy.
There's no doubt about it. They do get away with some pretty outrageous behavior. More so probably in basketball than in football. I think football's like the worst, but you don't see it, because the cameras aren't on them all the time. If you have
100 people on the sideline.
Exactly. If you're a basketball coach and you go nuts on an official, like it is right there for everybody to see. Yeah, they get away with a lot of stuff. There's a reason why they close practices a lot to the media. Serious. 100%.
Hey, you guys just watch it during warm-ups. We don't want any strategy out, but also maybe you don't need to be seeing how we treat our players.
No doubt. We would have that. We would close practices after they stretched and did some warm-up drills and stuff, and it's because we don't want that getting out. Like, you don't want the coach like screaming at a player and it's all over local news. You don't want that.
I just think it's an old school BS coaching tactic where, hey, I'm going to treat everybody on the team like shit, but if anybody from the outside comes in, we all stick together and bond together. Like, it's like this fake loyalty. And I think some of that now, we're starting to see more and more incidents of teams and players calling out misconduct by their coaches at practice.
Hmm.
or during games or wherever. And, I don't know how many of those are true and how many of those are, some kids upset about lack of playing time. Who knows? But the fact that it's being spoken up more about now, and it's less of like, I mean, you can go back and remember the Bobby Knight generation, and some of those where
Hmm.
coaches were like military generals, and it was
Yeah.
throwing chairs, and it was just great. I mean, sometimes they would,
I
make
mean, he put
physical
his hands all
contact.
over
Yeah.
players. Yeah, he
So,
did.
so maybe we're starting to see a little bit of shift in that as we get through generations. But
I don't think that goes over as well anymore. I'm trying to think of any like really hardcore coaches that are still. I mean, I think Danny Hurley's the guy that comes to mind for me in college. I'm trying to think of any other
well, we just
ones.
had
All the
one in the
rest of them.
NFL this week where a player who were the Titans playing, the Cardinals, runs the ball
Oh yeah,
70
yeah,
yards and drops the ball just
yeah.
carelessly drops the ball for the end zone. And the kid's on the sideline, and I think the coach brushed against the player or made some sort of contact and came out and had to apologize the next day. And I can't remember if paid
He
like
got
a
fined.
6-figure fine to either the team
Yeah.
or to the NFL. I'm not sure which one.
But when you have coaches with that kind of power and making that kind of money, like who's going to tell them to stop doing that? Again, it goes back to it's the age old thing in college sports. Like they make all the money, which means they probably have all the power. And who else has juice to tell them, like, dude, you can't do that. You can't grab somebody. You can't throw a ball at somebody. You can't kick a ball into the top level of the gym. You can't do that. But there's just not a lot of that going on, man. At least when I was, maybe it's happening more. Maybe these coaches are getting reined in a little bit more. But I just don't know if it's happening.
Here's another one for you.
Yeah.
And there's no concrete answer for this, but I'm curious. We talk about burnout and turnover in sports and it being a crisis. Where do we rank that coach chaos on the level of burnout and turnover in sports? It's got to be near almost the top. One of the reasons why people get driven to work somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in a bad situation, I think the misery index is like 8 to 10 for 4 months out of the year. Like you just hate dealing with anything, and maybe even just hate getting up out of bed in the morning. It's bad. And then it depends, though. I think if you're winning and everybody's happy, like if you're Danny Hurley's SID or marketing person or whoever at UConn and you're going 27-5 and you're going to the Final Four, does that help things? I mean, I've been in situations where not only were you miserable, but you were losing. And it's just like, what am I doing? I think winning kind of cures a lot of it, but it may only cure it for a little bit amount of time. You may just be able to do it for a couple years. It's like, I just can't take this. It's almost abuse, just
In some situations it is.
It is. Just not communicating with you about certain things and putting you on islands with people. It happens a ton, man.
It's manipulation.
It is a manipulation deal, and I think that does run people off. And you're working 80 hours a week, and you're just getting shit on by somebody. It's just like, man, what am I doing here? I need to get out of here.
But we're talking also, going back to pushing back against coaches and how that's how that's seen as not a good decision. But you've talked about this before on the podcast of, being a contact for an Olympic sport team, say lacrosse, and it's a Saturday night in the off season, and you're trying to enjoy some downtime. And coaches, a lot of times they've got their blinders on and they don't have the perspective of, hey, coach,
Saturday, you want to have a dinner with your significant other without being bothered about social media for a lacrosse game? Yeah. Lacrosse recruit? Yeah. Yeah. I think that's true. Again, there's just no rules. I think it kind of stems from the fact your administrators and your ADs, they didn't grow up in this social media realm. They don't know about that it's just, they do know it's 24/7 because their job's 24/7. But I think maybe some of them think, hey, maybe only my job is 24/7. Like the SID for women's soccer or lacrosse or wherever, that it's not as bad for them. But there's just no rules being made. And it kind of gets to, you need to have those rules.
Hey, look, in my older days now, it's not fair because I can't think about in my 20s how to have been like, I would have just shut up and done it, right?
Sure.
You said, here you go, coach. Thanks. Have a great night.
Yeah.
But now I think of, you know what? We've talked about boundaries before in our personal life and stuff. And there are times where I think today I would probably, again, I'm not recommending this to people listening that are working in sports, where I would sit down with the coach and have a conversation. Maybe you have a monthly check-in or something and just say, hey, coach, I really value personal time, especially in the off season. And there's just some designated times where, unless there's an emergency, that I'm just going to be off. I'm happy to provide those hours to you, willing to do as much as I can, but there are going to be some times where I've got to respect family time, and I've got to commit back to my family on these things.
Yeah.
And I would have been too scared to just do that back in the day. But looking now, I'm just like, you know what? I think if you would, well, it could go two ways. If you address a coach and have a conversation and they know you're working a lot and you're putting in your best effort.
Yeah.
I think a good coach or a good human being would be receptive to that. And I can't imagine a lot of people approach him with that. Now, you could have a maniac for a coach that on the inside saying, F this kid, they're not bought into the team, and just slowly weed you out.
Don't find another one.
There's
a million waiting to come in.
But that's how I approach it. That's how I would approach it these days. This is what is important to me. And these are times that, setting boundaries.
Yeah. You also just need administrative buy-in. You just have to have somebody up there that knows how all this thing works, and they can kind of be your advocate when you do go to your coach. Maybe they sit in the meeting with you. Like, hey, I'm going to be there when he talks to you about this, or, there's just not a lot of that going on, and there needs to be. There needs to be. And maybe that's the next level of ADs, maybe in 5 to 10 years where, these people have been around social media 24/7, and they know about the pitfalls of, burnout and not being around your family and being abused by coaches. Maybe they start making rules. I don't know. I mean, we talked about unions. I mean, you hate to kind of go down that road, but that's the reason why we talk about them. Because there's nothing being done to help the people that are in the mix every day.
Well, we've had bosses, and I've had these at multiple places, where you're right. An ideal situation would be a boss be able to set the tone with these coaches on these staffs. But you know why they don't? Because once they speak up, guess what? They put a target on their own back.
Yes, they do.
Some people, when you're in that cushy chair, making those six figures, why am I putting my neck out there? Let me just smooth it over with my staffer. And maybe one of the adjustments there is you look internally with your own staff and you're just like, hey, we're going to have a doctor on call on the weekend, where one person on staff is available.
But that's why this vicious cycle continues in sports.
It is. It's not a good solution. It's like a Band-Aid. It's like you're trying to put a Band-Aid on something.
It's a Band-Aid, because if, say, I go in to my coach and be like, hey, listen, on Saturday nights from this date to this date, Saturdays and Sundays, I'm going to be unavailable. But then what if you have a coach that's just not for that? They're like, all right, well, I'll go find somebody who is. And then you're gone. They bring in somebody else. Same thing happens for the year or two, and then they get burnt out, and then it's like a constant because there's so many people that want these jobs, man. So many of them.
I can think of a time where someone else in the department had tickets to a concert, and it was going to conflict with one of the games, one of the home games. And for me, what I've always told staff when I've been approached about this is like, hey, go do your thing. We'll staff it. No problem. Go enjoy your time. Because that they're not like This isn't a regular thing that happens, and it is a special type
Right.
of occasion, and you want them to be able to experience it. It's like, yeah, we can do without one less person. I'll do extra on my end. But what happened in turn was one of the assistant coaches was passive aggressive with this person saying, "Oh, well, you just must not be a team player," in a joking fashion and this and that, to where ultimately the staffer then felt guilty and showed up to the game and didn't go to the concert.
Yep.
And that's the type of stuff. And you see the attitude sometimes in those coaching staffs where it's, again, a manipulation, whether you're joking or not. It's like when you're messing with someone's mental health, even throwing out like, "Oh, so you're not going to come to the game tonight? All the coaches are coming, all the players are coming." And it's just like, well,
Brutal.
ton of those stories.
It's just unchecked power, man. It's just power that, I mean, frankly, all the coaches have. It's, I mean, at least where I've been. I mean, it's not just your football and basketball coaches. It's all your coaches. They have number one power over everything. And they should have some of it, but they should not have all of it. I don't know when those days are ever going to end. I mean, again, like we said, maybe NIL ends some of it. Maybe they recruit a different way. Maybe they get a different kind of player if they change the way they act. But it's just it's a never-ending spiral as long as it's going to be this way.
What even would a healthier power structure look like in college sports with coaches? And is that even possible?
It's probably not, but I just think it comes down to having more structure in your department, like from up top. You have to be more structured. You have to watch, like we've said a million times, you got to watch people's hours. You have to pay attention who's working nights and weekends. All that stuff has to be paid attention to, and right now it's not. And until that happens, this stuff's going to keep continuing to happen. And it's not healthy, I don't think. Because again, those coaches could just leave tomorrow. They could leave tomorrow.
And they do.
You have a success, and they do. They take more money and they leave tomorrow. And so then what are you stuck with? You're stuck with like disgruntled people working for you. And what good is that?
I've seen a coach run over an entire department of over 100 people, and the team was winning at the time. And when that coach left, everybody was happy.
Yeah.
And felt relieved because they were, again, when you have a coach that's full throttle, all brakes, all gas, no brakes, all gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
And you're along for this ride and it affects your mental health, and everybody wants to win. But when everybody is just burned out and put 6 feet under, that's when you really know. That's when you really know.
Yeah.
And I've had that happen.
I mean, it's abuse, man. It's really abuse. It's emotional abuse. And in that situation, would you ever have a plaintiff lawyer come in and be like, "Hey, we're suing you for this," or heaven forbid someone does something terrible and then it goes back on, well, the coach made me do this, 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 and that, and degraded me here, 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 and here, and it caused me to like have these really, really terrible thoughts. And so then what if you had a plaintiff lawyer sue him? And I mean, that's really talking crazy, but it's going to take something like that.
There is a case that made the front page that had issues with, I believe it was either the team president or lead or CEO, and several workers came out and lawyered up and put out statements, and then the team put out a statement as well. And I think we're still too early in the process to know what the end result's going to be, if this is going to go to court or not, if there's going to be a settlement. I think of those employees and the braveness on their end.
Yeah.
And they shared a lot of their just horrific trauma and stories that they went through. Mm-hmm. And it's just horrible to read and see. And to think, though, that like coming out with that statement, they probably won't get hired again. It's really just unfortunate. A lot of things need to change. And when you speak up and speak out about these things, I really feel like you're doing a bigger thing for the industry. Mm-hmm. And so when I saw that, I'm like, good on them. Good on them. I'm curious to see what the outcome is and what the results are. But, they sacrificed from a horrible experience, probably not getting hired again anytime soon until this is resolved.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing is it takes lawyers and lawsuits and things like that. I mean, in a perfect world, it wouldn't take that kind of stuff. But then we've seen throughout all of history where it's taken like really bad things happening to make changes. Child labor laws and 40-hour work weeks and all that other stuff. Unfortunately, it kind of takes this kind of stuff to wake people up. And if an AD sees a lawsuit on their desk, one morning about emotional abuse from people in their department, it may wake them up a little bit. I hate to be that way. It's the thing with unions. Like people in departments should not need unions. We shouldn't even be talking about unions, but we have to because of what's happened and what's continuing to happen. And I wish we didn't have to, but we do because of the things that are going on.
When we talk about coaches and power and if they have too much of it, but really in college sports, who really owns the narrative? And is it the school trying to protect its image, or the coach who's often bigger than the logo on his or her chest? Or even now, NIL, like you said, with reshaping everything, is it finally the athlete? Because as long as coaches remain the public face of $100 million programs, there will always be a battle over who controls the story. And we're seeing that unfold in UNC. Maybe that's the tension we'll never resolve, but when will schools be willing to take some of that control back? Time to wrap it up.
And that's another edition of No Longer Credentialed. Thanks to all of you listening, and if you like it, tell a friend and give it a 5-star rating on your podcast app of choice. Don't forget to check us out on social media at NLC Pod on X, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We'd love to hear from you. Until next week, keep grinding.
There are a lot of you listening at home right now.
A lot?
Well,
maybe like...
let us know if you're listening.
Dozens. No, maybe not even dozens. Maybe tens.
Let us know if you're listening. We're almost at the quarter century mark here of episodes.
That's right. That's right.
But can you imagine the people that are listening or still listening? The amount of their own stories that were of dealing with these situations.
Oh my gosh, it'd be so great.
Can you imagine
have them all on?
Oh my gosh. Maybe this hits too close to home for some of you, so we apologize if this ruins your day.
Yeah.
But we're just telling like 3, 4, 5 different stories, and there's probably a lot we just have blocked out because we don't remember anymore.
Yeah.
I would love to be able just to somehow...
Let's just go sit, have a drink, and listen to what these guys have to say. It would be really fun.
Probably write a book from it.
Probably. Yeah, I mean...
But hey, this is therapy. That's what we're doing.
That's what we're doing. We're saying stuff that people who are working can't really say, and maybe we shouldn't say it either, but we are. So
don't unsubscribe because this episode brought up way too many bad memories of working with coaches that had too much power. I want to hear the one-up stories because I have a feeling sometimes people are listening and they're like, man, I've had something happen similar to that, but it's an even crazier version.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
It
think probably happens every day. We're in football season right now. It's happening every day on a college campus somewhere. I mean, at Carolina, it's probably happening twice a day. You're like, holy shit, what in the world is going on over there?
Hey, wait. Just wait, because if there is resolution in this, can you imagine the hit pieces that are going to come out after he's gone? If that ends up happening, I can just wait. Just wait for those stories.
They're being written right now. Like someone at The Athletic is writing that story right now. It's like people are ready to leak stuff. Don't you think?
You remember
ready to talk.
When we had psycho coaches, and we could have probably written a manifesto on all the BS that went on with the department. And you're sitting there wondering, you're like, we couldn't leak anything, but you're thinking like, how much of this stuff will people truly understand, or how much of it will actually come out? Whereas in the UNC situation, so much has already come out or been leaked. Whether again it's just one person, one or two people that are trying to sabotage the program, or it truly is hell in that program right now. And I have a feeling, just from the information we already have out, that it's got to be 20 times worse. So
there's people lining up to tell that story. It's probably 5 deep. The Athletics probably got 5 people they're texting every day.
Hey,
because people want Belichick gone. They can't stand the guy. He's an ass. They want him gone.
If anybody from UNC is listening, we'll have you on the show. We'll modulate your voice.
You'll be fuzzy.
But a silhouette.
Come on.
We'll
put
you in the sports career witness protection program. Nobody knows where Boggs and I live right now. That's where we are right now covering.
That's right. I feel for those people so bad. Oh, my God. We should just send them a gift basket. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Barca?
Let's put one on there.
From No Longer Credentialed, here's some chocolate and maybe a 6-pack of beer and whatever else. Maybe we get some swag made. What if they were parading around the Carolina athletic department with a No Longer Credentialed Volt T-shirt? That would be hilarious.
Hey,
my gosh.
Here's a gift basket. Remember, hey, us two jabronis here, Boggsy and I, we're no longer credentialed for a reason.
No.
Props to you for sticking it out. And
that's right.
There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. We promise.
The unemployment line. An unemployment check.
Yeah, come hang out with me and watch The Price is Right every day.
That's right. I know what Drew Carey wears every day. I could pick it out. We could talk about it.
Hey, you got to spin that wheel a little bit harder if you're going to get the dollar bars. Hey, that dude's been yodeling too much up the mountain, man. Come on.
Oh, my gosh.